I think by now you know that my doctrine for wellness and fitness is built on the foundation of capability, specifically capability to be able to execute the responsibilities of life and to engage in the activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Now, I have been dutifully executing my responsibilities, and now it's time for some joy. I'm headed up to the mountains of western North Carolina for a few days of snow skiing, and hey, look at that. Fitness bundled with an activity that is pure contentment and decompression. While I'm gone, I hope you enjoy something from projectSEMPER that was the stepping stone to balanceFIT. In this episode, I discuss the whys and hows and whereto-fors of taking care of your body with two of my favorite people in the world. Here's part one. I hope you enjoy.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Lift off and the clock has started.
All right.
Be an exciting part of the lead.
Usually I do a bit of a soft lead
Are you
in,
gonna leave the door open?
I guess.
Be fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
If he puts the TV on, it'll be low.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you'll be able to hear that. Well, there's our soft opening. Usually I do a soft opening so we can just sort of fade into the podcast conversation, but we have a little bit of a different paradigm happening today. I am so thrilled and honored to be, we almost have an actual round table today instead of a two-person round table. It's more of like an equilateral triangle, but there's a fourth person here somewhere in the house, and there is a fourth microphone, I'm just saying, but it is indeed my honor to be joined by these two of my favorite people on the face of the earth. And to my left is someone who gets a lot of discussion time on the projectSEMPER podcast, but this is her first appearance on any of my podcasts, and I'm so very grateful to have the wise input of one Meredith Schroeder. Welcome, my dear.
Glad to be here.
Outstanding beginning. And of course, directly across from me is my compadre, my compatriot, my partner in authenticity, Jennifer Friedman. Welcome back.
That's an excellent title. Thank you.
Yes. Just off the cuff, off the top of my head. So last time before we get into anything, we're doing this. There's three of us today with my wife joining us. I was hoping there was going to be a fourth. We're together today. This is a compound visit, perhaps, is a way to put it. We're going to do reveling. We're not going to be reveling. We're going to be, what are we going to be doing? Recreating.
Middle-aged
That's what we're going to be. Recreating, middle-aged reveling,
Yes.
which is podcasting and bowling, I suppose. And that coincides with recording the podcast. So your significant other, Jennifer, is here as well, and he opted out, even though he probably has the best voice for radio and podcasting I've ever heard in my life.
He has an awesome voice.
He does, but he has been doing a lot of things outside of his comfort zone lately, and he deserves a break. And I asked, and he considered it and made a decision. So I will honor and respect that.
Indeed. So we are in the midst of our typically nice and pretty clean, orderly household is exploded into a collection of detritus and debris as we pack for a pretty significant event. We are leaving the low country of South Carolina after a quarter century, 25 years. We met in the fall of 1998. We almost harmonized in Charleston, and we've been all over the low country between here and there, and we're leaving for the upstate. We're leaving you.
Yes, after 10 years.
Man.
of knowing one another.
Well,
Longer for you and my mom.
Yeah.
the good thing is that one of the benefits of technology is the ability to easily and readily stay in touch via various modes such as Zoom or FaceTime or
The texting.
the texting.
Plus, I'll see her on video chat at least
Yeah,
3
you
times a
guys-
week.
At
Well,
least.
The my two co-hosts today work together, so they will maintain that. But I'm only going to see you. We're going to have to do this on Zoom, I guess, because we're not going to stop.
Well, so here's the thing. I love hiking. I miss hiking and I miss the mountains. And besides camping by myself, which I have done many times and I love, but it's like now that I have a partner that loves to do that, it's kind of sad to go by myself these days. But now Meredith has a hiking companion. She doesn't know it. She didn't know that until just now, but she's getting a hiking buddy. So
I'm very happy about that. I think we need to plan for
like every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, quarterly visits at least.
Yes.
Quarterly. Can you write that off? Can we-
As
I don't know, business expense of some sort.
well, you could take pictures of
Yeah.
us.
You need new headshots or anything like. Anyway,
I
yeah.
think I believe in the gullah belief where when you have your picture taken, it takes a piece of your soul. So I prefer to be out of pictures. Thank you.
Yes. All right then. Last time we discussed, we sort of got into the how of SEMPER, how to be a self-engendering machine of perpetual effectiveness and resolve. And kind of like you decide, you figure out, is there something wrong? Is there something missing? Is there something disconnected? Is there something out of balance? Is there something in any way, shape, or form that you could perhaps endeavor to improve about yourself today, going forward into however many days you have left? And if you've decided that indeed that is a path you'd like to take or something you'd like to maybe explore, then how exactly do you do that? And we sort of discuss the how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time kind of a philosophy, and with the addition of adding ranch dressing or blackening it or whatever if you just get sick and tired of eating plain elephant. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then just go back and listen to the last episode. What did I entitle it? How to start simpering or something like that. And the 3 components to projectSEMPER that you must nurture and grow and maintain are body, mind, and spirit. And so we're going to talk about body today. But before we get into that, I wanted to, as I was kind of taking some notes for today, it occurred to me that I didn't bring up something that's sort of probably an important element of how to simper like that. So when you do this, you start small, you give yourself attainable goals, things that you can do. Pick something that you know needs improvement, fixing, balancing, something that will make you X% better than you were, better tomorrow than you were the day before. And then you build on that from there until it stops being something that you do and it becomes something that's just part of you. It becomes self-engendering, and then you move on. One thing that I forgot to mention, which is an important step, especially when you're trying to heal something that's broken or put something back in balance that's out of balance, and that is to reward yourself for small victories. And that's very important, because whatever victory that you attain, it's not nothing. It's a victory. And you need to make sure that you recognize that, because if you don't, then you're just going to keep beating yourself over the head with this stuff like I didn't do it. I failed. I only did this. I didn't do this. But it's important that if your step is, for example, your first thing that you're going to do is to keep your living room tidy. And that involves vacuuming and picking up, making sure your shoes and socks aren't lying about and there's no dishes or cups sitting everywhere. And you've done that. You've vacuumed the floor and your favorite cup is not sitting on the coaster on the end table next to the couch. That's a victory. You've done it. You have achieved something. You have not changed the world, nor will you ever in a way that you may ever see. But you have achieved that small victory. And it's important that you recognize and reward yourself for that. And I don't know, maybe your reward is a chocolate chip cookie, or maybe it's some Earl Grey tea or something, whatever it is, a little self pat on the back. Maybe
sit and watch a movie for a couple hours.
Yeah. Maybe you go, lie in the grass or something like that. So that was important. It's important to do that, but it's also important to not. There's a dichotomy, as Jocko would say, in everything, a duality, as Jung might say. It's important to recognize the small victory, but don't get too caught up in it. Take your victory, take your reward, but do it quickly and move on.
Yeah, it's finding joy at the end of the work, like finding that small celebration. And then it's like, okay, well, now we move on to the next thing and we're going to find joy when we accomplish that too.
Yeah. And it's important not to get lost in the joy so that you forget to get back to the achievement part.
Yeah. Awareness.
Awareness is a good quality to have. So the Semper Triad, as I called it, is body, mind, and spirit. And I know that you have some things that you want to bring to bear. But I want to start off with myself and the whole body thing, the taking care of your body, whether it's exercise or nutrition or whatever it is, whatever the elements are that lead that lead you to a healthier body so that you may be more fit for longer to accomplish the things that you want and need to accomplish. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but the culture has slid into this paradigm where it's almost like a third rail to talk about health, physical health. Like, you're forcing me to exercise. You're forcing me to.
I'm fine the way I am.
Yeah. And that's a concept, really. Are you fine the way you are? That's a good way to put that, because you may be fine the way you are, but is that going to work for you tomorrow? Or should you continue to find things that may improve your physical presence, as it were? But one of the pushbacks that you get, or I should say maybe several of the bits of pushback that you get when you try to discuss health, fitness, nutrition, exercise, those things that build a better physical version of yourself, is, what do we say? What's the thing that always comes up? Well, I'm living my life my way. I'm doing things how I want to do. It's my body. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, right?
You're body shaming me.
Body shaming. There's a lot of shaming going on these days.
I have found both in myself and others that when people get defensive, it's often because they're looking for someone to blame because they're uncomfortable with the topic that you're bringing up. Yeah.
And as we've discussed in the past, not only blame, but they're looking for they're used to being in a codependent situation where someone is validating them for no real reason at all. And they're looking for that validation. And of course, we know that misery loves company. Nobody wants to be miserable alone. But when I hear all of those bits of pushback, I think about myself, and I think about food, drink, exercise, or lack thereof, and I don't know, chemical enhancements, let's call it, narcotics, alcohol, booze, bad internet habits, whatever these things may be, that
everybody has a moral compass. It's that thing inside of you that goes, hey, is this the best thing you could be doing right now? It's that thing that when you're like 13 that we used to have anyway, that when you're playing like video games for 7 hours straight, that it's that little thing inside of you that says you really need to go outside, and makes a teenager stand up and go outside, or used to anyway. But I think about myself and the lifestyle that I had for pretty much, for basically all of my 20s and 30s. So for about 20 years, where it was, I basically ate and drank and whatever I wanted. And the exercise that I got was usually work related, but I didn't do much of anything after that. After being a pretty fit young person, pretty active, which I think was pretty normal then. I wasn't some elite athlete, and I didn't really do anything that anybody else didn't do. It was kind of like what everybody did then. But my own story leads me to the absolute conclusion that if I die tomorrow of a brain tumor or some other unforeseen catastrophe, that I'll tell you from today's perspective, I'll be glad that I hadn't spent the last 14 years, which is when I sort of started to turn things around physically and every other way, but specifically to this discussion physically, that I hadn't spent the last 14 years of my life fat, lazy, drunk, incapable, self-destructive, and otherwise generally a net negative to myself, my family, and society. And if I die tomorrow, I'm not going to spend cosmic eternity lamenting the years I wasn't hungover, sitting on my fat ass on the couch, incapable of interacting with the world, and taking prescription meds for diabetes, heart problems, anxiety, depression, and general malaise. I'm going to be pretty stoked that I turned back in a positive, healthy direction, and I was as strong and capable as I was able, so I could spend those years living rather than being trapped in a kind of a poisoned shell. So in other words, am I going to regret whenever I die, am I going to have regrets for not living it up, as you might say, eating whatever I wanted to eat and drinking copious amounts of booze and whatever else? And then, basically spending every morning 2 hours on the toilet or, under the toilet or,
loafing
just
around, you have no energy.
Over and no energy and no will to do anything. No, I'm not going to regret any of that. And if you look at the things that you can do to hurt yourself physically, you essentially have to turn them into some sort of a crusade to be living, to be enjoying life. And I'm not talking about ever, I think about our daughter and how we sort of tried to craft her perspective of food specifically, but consumption in general. And we never deprived her of anything. We never said, no, you can't have ice cream. I might have said, no, you can't eat that entire tub of ice cream, but we didn't strip the house of treats. We didn't feed her, water and kale and chia seeds 3 meals a day. She had that stuff. What we did was try to introduce balance to her. And so I think about that when it comes to the pushback that you inevitably get from this discussion, which is, well, you just whatever, you're not having any fun. You just don't, just the typical, I can't even articulate it because it's just so aggravating, because it's kind of it's a self-destructive juvenile attitude, which is what has been elevated in our culture these days.
As your life partner.
Is that what you are?
Mm-hmm. Among other things. I do not regret that you made those changes either.
Well, that's pretty solid. Because I can imagine how difficult I was to live with just in general. But when I see pictures of myself from let's say circa 2006, 7, that time period. Ooh.
But I thought you were cute, but now you're hot.
Third party in the room.
Oh yeah, we have somebody else here.
Yeah.
So when it comes to taking care of your body, one of the 3 legs of the stool that interacts with the other 2, these 3 things, body, mind, and spirit, are inextricably linked. You cannot remove one or overcare for one and neglect the other 2, or do 2 and neglect the third one. They're all linked inextricably. You cannot take one away from the other 2 or 2 away from the other 1 without becoming out of balance. And the idea behind this, it's my body. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and I'm going to enjoy life. Enjoying life being eating whatever you want and drinking whatever you want and exercising if maybe or not at all, because you're just going to enjoy life. And again, I question,
to what extent can you really enjoy life if your body can't handle it? Thank
you for articulating that. I was kind of stumbling through how to say that, but that's exactly right. And it comes down to a couple of things, and that's that you think you're telling yourself, you're convincing yourself and telling everyone else that you're living life on your own terms, when essentially you're talking about self-rule, your own agency, sovereignty over your own body, your own self, and freedom. That's essentially what this boils down to here, except for there's 2 things. And that's that sovereignty comes from responsibility. If you are broken physically, you don't essentially have any control over your body, because you're probably you can't do the things that you want to do, and you're probably going to be spending more time than you should be receiving medical care. And you're probably going to be on some prescription drugs for whatever maladies that you have based on your lifestyle, from not taking care of yourself, from doing your thing. And then the other thing is that this nihilistic attitude about how you live is just a form of slavery. Nihilism is slavery. You are indenturing yourself to the servitude of things outside of you, chemicals and, whatever is floating around that milieu.
I had an interesting revelation. I've been working on inner struggles of my own for a while and trying to figure out, I knew I wanted to change this habit. I just, for whatever reason, was in a never-ending circle of fighting it. And a couple of weeks ago, sort of had this moment, my little light bulb switch, where I realized that it was, I don't know how to explain this any other way, but basically being guided and led by temptation so deep into the woods, and I was just letting myself be led. I was an absolutely passive, helpless martyr, because I kept insisting all of these things within this never-ending circle. And I sort of opened my eyes one day. I was like, oh, I'm in the middle of a big forest with a leader who does not care about me. And basically that was when I opened my eyes. I was like, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to walk out. But I think everyone has to have that light bulb moment for themselves. I mean, but this is our attempt at saying, wake up, you're in the middle of a forest and something is leading you that does not care about you. And physically, it's like you look down one day and I'm like, oh, well, that belly belly's been there a while and I've kind of been ignoring it. How'd that get there? And it's just like one little thing after another. And you realize that, yeah, you really are a slave to whatever you think is allowing you to be free.
Yeah, those light bulb moments, you don't have to have just one in your life. In fact, if you only have one light bulb moment in your life, you're probably not working hard enough, because of the continued can I be 1% better? Can I be 1/10 of 1% better tomorrow than I was yesterday? And why not? I just keep coming back to why wouldn't you? And I think that goes back to one thing that I talk about when it comes to any kind of addiction, substance abuse, drug addiction, alcohol, whatever it is there has to be hope there. And but you have to look for your own hope. You can't have somebody spoon feed you your hope. You got to find that yourself. And these light bulb moments are opportunities in your life to get up off the ground and jump back on that road that's always been there and always will be there. And that's one of the key things, is one of the main contributors to failure, or let's just say to long-term failure, is whatever it is that you're doing. You either set too extreme of a goal, and you let's say you set too extreme of a goal. You want to lose 40 pounds in 6 months. That's pretty extreme. Now, it depends on where you are on that scale. For some people, that could be a fairly attainable goal, but like if you're an adult male and you're 5'11" and you weigh 225 pounds, losing 40 pounds is going to take you some effort. If you're 400 pounds, losing 40 pounds is probably not going to be that difficult. But the failure comes from when you set a goal that may be too extreme, or that maybe you get knocked off your fitness goal because you have to travel for 2 weeks. And it's pretty difficult to maintain the discipline to keep your exercise regimen up while you're traveling, if you're traveling for work, or if you have like multiple stops on this traveling thing. Anyway, so you fail, you fall off, and you feel horrible. And not only do you fall off your nutrition and your exercise goals, if that's your thing, because you feel terrible, you self-medicate with pizza or whatever, and then you feel worse.
You're looking for that temporary fix, that temporary
dopamine.
High, yeah.
And then it's a cycle, and then you're sucked into this vortex of like, well, I failed, I lost my way on the exercise, and I lost my way on the diet. To hell with it, I'm just going to keep eating pizza. And you get down in that hole, and you find those enablers. Mm-hmm. You seek out, consciously or unconsciously, you seek out those enablers, and you find somebody who will eat all that pizza with you.
Like calls to like.
Yeah. And a year later, not only did you not lose 40 pounds, you gained 25 more. But it's not too late. It's never too late. If you're still breathing, you can still get back on there, and you don't have to be some kind of specimen, some sort of Greek statue of a specimen to live a good life. You just simply need to maintain. You need to figure out you need to figure out the version of yourself that's going to enable you to lead the kind of life that you want to lead. And that's going to be different for everybody. And that's one of those things here that you got to talk about, is that whatever exercise plan or diet plan, oh God, the D word, whatever nutrition plan or fitness plan that you may come up with, stop looking at the fads, stop jumping on these bandwagons, because everybody's genetics are different. And it comes down to, you may be able to more tolerate a certain kind of food because your genetic material, your DNA is, I don't know, Icelandic. So your forebears ate a lot of fish and whatever. I don't know. I'm just kind of, but if you're from sub-Saharan Africa, your lineage is from sub-Saharan Africa. Those people ate an entirely different diet. So, and here you are in 2023 existing on processed foods and other crap. And then if you try to do some kind of a keto or carbs or whatever it is that you're trying to do, it might not work for you. because of your genetics. And then you're going to get frustrated. And then you're going to fall down, and then you're going to stay down.
Right. And that's the key element, is finding what works for you, for your body, your mindset, your lifestyle, your day-to-day routine, because everybody has something different that will work for them. I've learned that for me, I can't just set a schedule, because that schedule will get interrupted.
It gets hijacked.
Yeah, easily. I can't say, all right, I'm going to go to the gym every Tuesday and Thursday after work, because then inevitably I have to work late, or we have a client meeting for the photography business at 7 p.m., or something has come up that I can't go on Thursday. So for me, what works is from day to day, whatever is going to work that day is what I'm going to do. It might be take a walk at lunch. It might be do something take Lucy for a long walk in the morning before work. And that might be all the movement I get that day, but it's something. So for me, some people need that set routine and that helps them stick to it. That doesn't work for me, because I know that my day to day could be different this week, next week, the next week. And I just have to do I have to exercise however it fits in each day.
Have a plan, but be able to pivot.
And since we do have Meredith here with us today, she is not just my coworker. She was my boss and my supervisor and my mentor for a really long time. Still is. Don't even report to her directly. Still
Mine
ask her
too.
for advice.
Mine too. That's weird.
It's like she's good at it or something. But one of the things in our work is making a plan that's realistic, and under promise and over deliver is something else that we kind of learned to manipulate, because if someone asks us for something, hey, we need this done and we need it printed in 2 days. Well, we know that's not possible. So how dare we promise that to somebody and then they have expectations and it doesn't get delivered? Why is it any different with, yourself, your personal life? I think sometimes people struggle holding themselves to the same standards at work versus with themselves. Mm-hmm. But, you can kind of think of it that way, and you owe it to yourself to be that accountable to yourself first, just like you would at a job, or if you are a caretaker. What if they said, oh, well, I need to book an appointment with this doctor for this type of thing, and you can't make that day, and you tell them you can, and then you let them down. I mean, it applies to every aspect of your life, and it's important to recognize that there is not one that's more important than the other, that, work is not more important than yourself. Others are not more important than yourself. It's really the other way around.
Which kind of leads well into the short list of reasons that you should take care of your physical body. You should invest some time in thinking about your nutrition and your exercise, your fitness. I keep wanting to use those two words, nutrition and fitness, not diet and exercise, because there's an important distinction. There's a perception of diet and exercise, and
nobody wants to do those two things.
Diet. That's like diet.
Yeah.
And it's one of those words that has a specific meaning that's gotten twisted over the last 40 or 50 years. And it's just obnoxious that you can't use words without,
right.
sort of.
But I do want to eat nutritiously, and I do want to be fit.
Yes. Nutrition and fitness. So solid reasons to take care of your body. And if you can't find at least one of these that you can sort of latch onto to get yourself started, then I don't know what you're doing, because I think everybody really should consider these aspects of life. And so those things are things like function. Can you function? Can you actually physically function in your day-to-day life? And I'm not talking about exercise. I'm talking about, can you perform the tasks to execute your life? Can you put the dishes away? Can you pick up your child? Can you
Carry the basket of laundry.
carry a basket of laundry? Recently I saw someone, this was over the holidays, I saw someone trying to get a heavy pot, like a big Dutch oven, kind of a heavy pot out of the oven. And she almost couldn't do it. She was shaking. And this is a person who should not be in that position at her stage of life. I'm trying to keep this as ambiguous as possible, but that I looked at that and it really surprised me. It kind of took me aback, and it spun me down to thinking more about this stuff. And to add the word function, can you function in your life? So can you execute your life? And not only that, can you do the things that bring joy to you? Whether that's going for a walk or hiking up a mountain or
Dancing.
Dancing. Thank you. See, that's why one of the reasons I'm very glad you're here is because you're bringing another perspective to this that's outside of mine. So I'm glad that you said that. So yeah, dancing, whatever it is that you need to do.
Can you chase your kids around the yard?
Yeah. So those two things with under function, can you execute your life, and can you function? Can you do the things that bring you joy? Because if you can only do one of those, you're missing something. If you can't do either of them, then you're completely failing as a human. You're failing yourself.
And it has to be sustainable. It's like if you know you're on a downward spiral where maybe you can get away with it now, but you feel it slipping away every day, that's a sign. That's a clue.
Another one is, and this one should hit home for every single human being on this planet right now, given what we've gone through for the last 3 years or so. Do you have the ability to fight off illness and disease? In other words, is your body, is your immune system robust enough to fight off the inevitable and constant, really, onslaught of germs and viruses and bacteria and all the icky things that crawl around all over the world? Because we've recently seen millions of people die from essentially a respiratory illness. And if you discount people in impoverished conditions and you just talk about developed nations, things like that, well, who were the first people essentially that died that didn't have some sort of a genetic predisposition to struggle with COVID? And that was smokers, people who somehow hurt, themselves, their own life, people who ate a poor diet, people who got
diabetics were largely hit.
Yeah. And this is a thing that you can work to prevent. No, you cannot. You can be a marathoner and be in complete, utter peak cardio fitness at age 35 and drop dead of a heart attack because you have poor genetics. And there's just nothing you can do about that. But that kind of goes back to, did you enjoy the years that you had?
Control what you can.
Control what you can. Seems to be a theme here, doesn't it? So make your body, you have the ability to make your body more robust to fight off the constant onslaught of icky critters that are constantly getting all over us. And again, that should be pretty self-evident to everybody as we look around. But another one of these is sort of kind of goes back to your function, your quality. How's your quality of life? Again, like when I talked about myself, are you spending 2 hours every morning on the toilet because you ate
fried food and pints of beer and
right, exactly. And
not that I've ever been in that position myself before.
Right,
never,
of course
never.
not. We all have. That's the thing. But at some point, you have to come to a realization that that's not really an effective way to live, to execute your life.
It stops being fun after a while, and then you're just doing it because it's a habit. You're doing it because you see other people doing it, and it really does stop being fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you wake up the next day and you don't feel good, and you're not like the beer doesn't even taste good anymore. You're just doing it.
And then you're in trouble. Readiness. Do you have the ability physically to be ready for the unforeseen. And that could be an illness. That could be an attacker. That could be somebody coming after your child in a parking lot. That could be somebody coming after you in a parking lot. Whatever it is, anything along those lines, do you have the ability? Are you capable enough to have the readiness to be able to take on the unforeseen?
And on a positive side of that readiness, someone offers you a free trip somewhere and you're not healthy enough to do it. Somewhere you've always wanted to go or something you've always wanted to do. Jokingly was hanging out with someone the other day and talking about a celebrity who said they were single and well, now I have a reason to get in shape. You know, it's like, well, if you're already in shape, you can jump on that wagon right away.
And well-being. How is your well-being? And this is something that only you can determine. How you doing? That's kind of like what we would say in the South to figure out well-being. How you doing? Are you doing okay? Is everything, are you on track or are you self-destructing? How's your well-being related to, because there is a lot of psychology and emotion around your physical self. And it's undeniable. And I'm sorry that we want to try to talk this out of existence, but your perception of how you present yourself to the world is important. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fraught with depression based on how you, again, I'm trying not to use words that can be easily batted around, like based on how you look. I like to think of it more as based on how you present yourself to the world. And that's all encompassing for your
self-pride.
Yeah, for your physical self. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with what you're presenting to the world genuinely? And that's pretty emotionally and deeply tied to fitness and nutrition and sort of how you're shaping yourself. Financial viability. We talked about this a little bit on a previous episode. Are you able to, this goes kind of back to function, are you able to perform work that will feed yourself and your family and keep a roof over your head? Or are you knocked down by, again, type 2 diabetes that you brought on through diet, through poor nutrition, lack of exercise, and otherwise bad habits?
Or a little more concrete, are you having to miss work because you're sick? Are you having to spend a good portion of your budget on medication and doctor's visits? Where is that money going? Instead of putting it into your illness, how about putting it into your health?
Perfect example. And that goes everywhere on the spectrum from, are you calling in sick more often than the regular average employee would because you're hungover? Or your
immune system is weakened and you're just always feeling like crap.
And all the way up to the other side of the spectrum, which is, are you missing work because you are in the hospital or at the doctor's office or something that's for something that's preventable? And last on this, it's certainly not the end of the reasons to take care of yourself physically, but last on this list, or we'll go on forever. And this one I think can hit home. I think everyone can embrace this concept. And for me, it's extremely personal, and it's also a bit tangential out to the friend sphere. And that's longevity. Are you willing to do what's necessary to keep yourself around for the people who love you and to whom your existence is anywhere on the spectrum from necessary, you have little kids, to being around for the people who love, being around, giving yourself to be here as long as you can in a viable state, controlling things that you can control to keep yourself around for the people who love you, and also circling around. These things kind of touch on each other, which is financial viability, function, all that kind of stuff. And I know that you and I, honey, have several people in our lives who have died basically because of lifestyle. And they left children and spouses at a very vulnerable time in life. And it was simply, it came down to drinking, eating. And a lot of times it was working. It was burning that candle at both ends. And yes, when you're building a business and when you're trying to take care of your financial viability, you might be working 80 or 90 or 100 hours a week. But are you also eating like shit every day, 3
and
meals
not
a
resting,
day, not getting the rest that you need, not getting any kind of exercise? So you're so out of whack there with your priorities that you ended your life at 40 instead of
building a legacy.
Thank you. Thank you for spending time with me today on balanceFIT Radio. If this conversation resonated with you, please go ahead on and share it out with someone who might need it. You never know. And let me leave you with this thought today. You need to reclaim legacy without ego, without hero narratives, without self-importance. Legacy is not what will they say about me. Legacy is what won't they have to fix because I did my job. Until next time, train intentionally, recover intelligently, move with a dadgum sense of purpose. And remember, your life, your potential. Peace out, homies, and I'll see y'all next time.